Hello everybody and welcome back. And in last week's arrow, we saw the third time when the Israelites had grumbled for the food. We understood why. And today we're going to continue about this and continue what happened after this in the Exodus 16th chapter 4th to 5th verse. So let's read that now. So it says in this verse, Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they walk in my law or no. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So we see once more God is giving this love towards these Israelites for what they needed, as they were grumbling before this, as they were not getting enough food. But as they entered Canaan, their regular food again, we see how gracious our Heavenly Father has given them, and He has shown how patient He's been with this faithless nation so far, as they keep on grumbling against God. But then we can read 11th and 12th verse to understand this in a bit more detail. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel speak. So he's saying he's heard the Israel speaking of the grumbling of the food and the water we saw. Speak unto them, saying, At ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. So then, as promised, he showed them such a beautiful miracle and provided them the heavenly bread as a rain. So it's like we're saying it's raining food. And this has actually happened in the Bible itself. And naturally, we know when rain comes, it's water, we can say. But this is an extraordinary bread coming from heaven as rain. The Israelites eat this food for 40 years until they came to the promised land. They basically lived off this food in the desert. Without this marvelous miracle and provision of full food from God, the Israelites most likely would have died in the wilderness and died there, as they had no food. We can now read on, though, to the verses of Exodus 16th chapter, 13th to 15th verse, to understand more about this. So let's go through that right now. So it says, And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay around the host, about the host, they say. The dew lay around about the host. And when the dew lay was gone up, behold, up on the face of the wilderness, there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoar frost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, It is manna, for they wist and not know what it is. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord has given to you to eat, he says. So Moses has told them this food has been given by Moses, from God, to eat. And the Israelites are unknown there about what it says. And as we read them in the 15th verse, the people are amazed and surprised to see these thin flakes on the ground under the dew surrounding the camp. So they asked each other, what is it? Because they never heard or saw this in their whole lifetime. And in Hebrew language, the interesting thing is, manhu is what is it is in Hebrew language. So the Israelites started saying, what is it? So this led to calling the heavenly bread as manna or manna, as it comes from the Hebrew language of manhu, which means what is it? So then manna has been described as and when we see it as what food it is and how it's described, it has been described as a white coriander seed, which is a glober and white achromatic fruit, which is sweet like honey, it is said. It is like that, but the thing is, it was not the coriander seed itself, which indicates that it's growing from a tree or a plant. It's not that indicates this. It's not that showing that it's a tree, plant, or it's grown from the tree, grass, plants, or grain or herbs. It was something that actually had grew out of the earth naturally, since it was not the coriander seed itself, we understand, which shows that it was not growing from a tree, because we understood that it was actually growing from the earth, out of the earth naturally. So now we're going to continue about the test, though, about what God provided Aling provided Aling with this grace. He said to them, with providing to the man, he also gave them a test that he was going to give them. We understood. Then, so when we read Exodus 16, chapter 4 to 5th verse, it says, we'll read it again. It says, Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather certain rate every day, that I may be prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. So we see in this verse, and then the next verse, and it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So the 4th verse is saying that God has provided them a test with this allying graces at the same time. So we'll talk about this test and what obedience they have to show towards this test next week in Exodus 16, chapter 4 to 5th verse. So I'll see you then. Bye. But before we say goodbye, let us go through what we learned today. So first of all, we learned about the manna, which is this white thin flake that came from the sky as rain, as a brilliant miracle that the Israelites lived off for 40 years. And we know without this they would most likely die. And this was named manna, as we understood, because what is it? In the Hebrew language means manhu, and that is why they called it manna. And we understand that the manna is like a coriander seed, but which is global and white and has an achromatic fruit scent, sweet like honey. But it was not like a coriander seed itself, we understood, because there was indications that suggest it was not a growing tree or plant, grass, grain, or herb. It was not something that grew out of the earth naturally. It was not something that grew out of the earth naturally, as it shows that it wasn't grown from these places. And then we understood about the test that was given, which we do not know about, which we see that God is giving as well, aligning with the grace of the manna at the same time. So we'll talk about the test next time. So see you then. Bye.